1952, the Alvis factory, Holyhead Road, Coventry. A machine rolls off the production line that looks like nothing the British Army has ever fielded. 6 wheels, a slab-sided steel hull the height of a delivery van, a tiny turret bolted to the roof carrying a single machine gun, no cannon, no missile, no menace whatsoever. It weighs 11 tons, rides high enough to silhouette against any tree line on Earth, and drinks petrol like a truck hauling furniture across England. It looked wrong. It looked like a steel bus pretending to be a weapon of war, and the soldiers who first laid eyes on it said as much. They hated it. They called it slow. They called it ugly. They called it a coffin on wheels. They were wrong about every single thing except the ugly part. Over the next 4 decades, this vehicle would serve on 5 continents, fight in more conflicts than any other British armoured vehicle of its generation, equip the armies and police forces of more than 20 nations, and carry more men home alive from more ambushes, riots and firefights than any tank Britain had in its arsenal. It would serve from the jungles of Malaya to the streets of Belfast, from the deserts of Aden to the hills of Borneo, from the sands of Kuwait to the townships of South Africa, and it would remain in British military service for 41 years. Its designation was the FV603 Saracen, and it was Britain's first purpose-built armoured personnel carrier of the post-war era. To understand why the Saracen existed, you need to understand the crisis Britain faced in 1948. On the 16th of June that year, 3 European plantation managers were murdered by communist guerrillas in the rubber estates of Perak, Malaya. Within days, the colonial government declared a state of emergency. The Malayan National Liberation Army, a communist insurgent force numbering roughly 8,000 fighters, had launched a campaign of assassination, ambush, and economic sabotage across the peninsula. Rubber plantations were burned, tin mines were attacked, road convoys were shot to pieces in kill zones carved through dense jungle. Britain needed to move soldiers through those kill zones alive, and it had nothing to move them in. The standard troop transport was the open-topped Bedford truck, canvas-sided, completely unarmoured, and a death trap in an ambush. Soldiers sitting in the back of a soft-skin lorry on a jungle road were targets, not troops. What the army needed was a vehicle that could carry a full infantry section, protect them from small arms fire and shrapnel, survive a mine strike, and keep rolling on roads that no tracked vehicle could use for months at a time without destroying itself. The answer was already on a drawing board at Alvis in Coventry. A family of 3 6-wheeled vehicles designated the FV600 series had been under development since 1947. The family was designed to share a common chassis, engine, and drivetrain. The first vehicle in the series was supposed to be the FV601 Saladin armoured car, fitted with a 76mm gun. The troop carrier, the FV603, was meant to come second. Malaya reversed those priorities overnight. The War Office pulled the Saracen to the front of the production queue and transferred the Saladin program to Crossley Motors, so that Alvis could concentrate entirely on getting the carrier built. The first prototype was delivered in June 1951. 2 prototypes were shipped directly to Malaya for jungle trials. By December 1952, full production had begun. The vehicle itself was a masterpiece of practical engineering. The hull was all welded steel with armour up to 16mm thick, enough to stop rifle and machine gun rounds, enough to deflect grenade splinters, but not enough to stop anything heavier. The engine was a Rolls-Royce B80, an 8-cylinder petrol unit producing 160 brake horsepower, mounted at the front of the hull. It drove all 6 wheels through a fluid coupling and a 5-speed pre-selector gearbox. Top speed on a paved road was 45 miles per hour. Cross-country it managed 20 miles per hour. Operational range was 250 miles. The crew consisted of a driver and a commander, who doubled as the turret gunner, operating a .30 caliber Browning machine gun. Behind them was the troop compartment, large enough to carry up to 10 infantrymen with full equipment. They entered and exited through a pair of heavy doors at the rear of the hull. Firing ports were set into the hull sides, allowing the section to engage targets from inside the vehicle without exposing themselves. The suspension was independent torsion bar on all 6 wheels, and this gave the Saracen a capability that would save lives for decades. If a wheel was blown off by a mine, the vehicle could keep moving on the remaining 5. If 2 wheels were lost on the same side, the crew could still limp home. In a campaign defined by roadside ambushes and buried explosives, this was not a theoretical advantage. It was the difference between a vehicle that burned at the roadside and one that brought its passengers back to base. Now, before we get into where this vehicle actually fought, if you are enjoying this deep dive into British Cold War engineering, hit subscribe. It takes a second, costs nothing, and helps this channel continue producing content like this. The Saracen arrived in Malaya at exactly the moment the campaign needed it most. General Sir Gerald Templer, the High Commissioner and Director of Operations, had implemented the Briggs Plan, a strategy that resettled nearly 500,000 rural Chinese Malayans into fortified new villages to deny the communist guerrillas their food supply and intelligence network. The plan worked, but it required constant road movement between garrisons, villages and rubber estates. Every road was a potential kill zone. The 11th Hussars deployed to Malaya in 1953, equipped with Daimler armoured cars and Saracen APCs. Over 3 years, the regiment covered nearly 4 million miles on convoy escort, road patrols and ambush response, with squadrons based at Kuala Lumpur, Johor Bahru and Seremban. The Saracen changed the mathematics of the ambush. A section riding inside a Saracen could survive the initial burst of fire that would have killed half of them in an open truck. They could dismount through the rear doors under the cover of the turret gun. They could fight back immediately instead of dying in the first 5 seconds. The emergency lasted 12 years. It killed 519 Commonwealth soldiers, 1,345 Malayan troops and police, and 2,478 civilians. Security forces killed 6,710 guerrillas. By the time the emergency was declared over in 1960, it was regarded as one of the few successful counterinsurgency campaigns of the Cold War. The Saracen did not win that war alone, but it kept enough soldiers alive through enough ambushes that the patrols could continue, the convoys could run, and the Briggs Plan could hold. Malaya was only the beginning. In 1961, when Iraqi dictator Abdel Karim Qasim threatened to annex Kuwait, Britain launched Operation Vantage and rushed a brigade of 7,000 troops to the emirate. Saracens were among the first armoured vehicles on the ground. Kuwait was so impressed it ordered 135 of its own, fitted with reverse-flow cooling for desert operations. In Aden and the Radfan between 1964 and 1967, Saracens served alongside Saladins and Ferret scout cars at checkpoints and in urban patrols. The Queen's Dragoon Guards operated them near Sheikh Othman during the final withdrawal in 1967, one of the most dangerous urban disengagements of the post-colonial era. The Aden campaign cost the British roughly 90 killed, and 510 wounded. In Borneo during the confrontation with Indonesia, from 1962 to 1966, Saracens patrolled jungle tracks and border roads. In Cyprus, they served with the 1st Royal Tank Regiment on border patrols well into the 1980s, but it was Northern Ireland that gave the Saracen its longest and most gruelling deployment. When Operation Banner began in 1969, the Saracen, nicknamed the Sixer, became one of the most recognisable vehicles on the streets of Belfast and Londonderry. It was up-armoured with appliqué steel plates, internal padding, and passenger harnesses. The additional weight strained the engines, but the protection worked. In one celebrated incident near Armagh, a retrofitted 1st Royal Tank Regiment Saracen was struck by a culvert bomb. The commander and driver suffered only minor cuts and bruises. The harnessed soldiers in the rear walked away without serious injury. Not every crew was so fortunate. On the 19th of May, 1981, a provisional IRA radio-controlled landmine of approximately 1,000 pounds, hidden in a culvert under Chancellor's Road at Altneve near Newry, detonated beneath the second of 2 Saracens in convoy. 5 soldiers were killed. Lance Corporal Grenville Winston, age 27, Rifleman Michael Bagshaw, age 25. Rifleman Andrew Gavin, age 19, Rifleman John King, age 20, and their driver Paul Bullman, age 19. All served with the 1st Battalion, the Royal Green Jackets, except Bullman, who was Royal Corps of Transport. The blast hurled the vehicle's engine block over the adjacent Belfast to Dublin railway line. Debris was scattered over a 300-yard radius. The Saracen also served with armies that used it for purposes its designers never intended. South Africa purchased 280 Saracens. On the 21st of March, 1960, South African police deployed at least 4 Saracens to the township of Sharpeville during a protest against the pass laws. Police opened fire on the crowd. According to the most recent archival research, at least 91 people were killed and 238 wounded. The vehicle designed to protect soldiers from guerrilla ambushes in Malaya had become an instrument of state violence against unarmed civilians. The Saracen served with the armies and police forces of Jordan, Lebanon, Indonesia, Nigeria, Sri Lanka, Libya, Sudan, Kenya, Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, Thailand, and Brunei. Total production reached 1,838 vehicles, all built at the Alvis plant in Coventry between 1952 and 1972. On paper, the Saracen had rivals that looked superior. The Soviet BTR-152 was cheaper, simpler, and produced in vastly greater numbers, over 8,600 built. The American M113, introduced in 1960, was tracked, amphibious, and air-portable, with more than 80,000 eventually produced. Both could go places the Saracen could not, but neither could do what the Saracen did best. The BTR-152 was open-topped in most variants, leaving its passengers exposed to exactly the kind of overhead fire and grenade attack that defined colonial ambushes. The M113 required a tracked vehicle maintenance chain that few post-colonial armies could sustain. The Saracen ran on wheels. It could be maintained by mechanics trained on commercial trucks. It could drive hundreds of miles on roads without chewing the tarmac apart, and it could lose a wheel to a mine and keep moving. In the kind of wars Britain actually fought between 1950 and 1990, low-intensity conflicts on jungle tracks and urban streets, the Saracen was not an inferior choice. It was the right tool for the job. The tracked FV603 began replacing the Saracen in conventional British service from 1963, but the Saracen refused to disappear. It served in Northern Ireland into the 1980s. The last Saracens in British military service belonged to the Saracen Troop of 28 Squadron, Queen's Own Gurkha Transport Regiment stationed in Hong Kong. They were disbanded in early 1993. 41 years after the first production vehicle left the Alvis factory. Surviving examples sit in the Tank Museum at Bovington, the Royal Artillery Museum, and the Royal Australian Armoured Corps Tank Museum. Several remain in running condition in private collections across the United Kingdom. 1952, Holyhead Road, Coventry. A machine rolls off the line that looks like a steel bus with a turret bolted on as an afterthought. It has no cannon, no missile system, no amphibious capability, no nuclear, biological, or chemical protection. It is tall, thirsty, slow compared to the vehicles that will eventually replace it, and it runs on a petrol engine in an age that was already moving to diesel. And yet, it worked. It worked in the rubber plantations of Malaya, where it turned ambush into survival. It worked in the streets of Belfast, where its armour stopped bullets that would have killed men in thinner vehicles. It worked in the deserts of Aden, the jungles of Borneo, and the sand of Kuwait. It worked for 20 nations on 5 continents for 4 decades. The Saracen was never fast. It was never elegant. It was never the best armoured vehicle in any infantry it served, but it carried men into danger and brought them home again, year after year, war after war, in conditions that broke more sophisticated machines. That is not luck. That is British engineering built for the wars Britain actually had to fight.